Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well and having a lovely day. Obviously the United game is still going on, and me and James were just talking about how crazy it is. So we'll try and keep you up to date, or guys can help us keep us up to date too while we're chatting. But I'm joined by James Johnstone, and we have actually planned to do this for a little while. So it's a really nice moment to have you on, James. I love all your content you do on people's channels, and you're very knowledgeable. So it's really lovely to have you on today.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me on, Sophie. Apologies it's taken so long, but yeah, I'm glad to be
Don't
here.
worry.
And
No,
I'm
I'm
glad for us
looking
to finally do it.
yeah, I'm looking forward to this. It'll be really good. But I thought we could start off by talking a bit about the season before we go into the Champions League, because obviously that is really exciting for us at the moment. Obviously this season, at the start people were having their questions if Arsenal were the same as last season. And we've really shown with that experience how it's really helped us. Obviously we've brought in the experience of like Declan Rice, Havertz, Raya. Obviously Timber was good, but we didn't really get to see much of him. Do you feel like these signings have been the right signings for this season? Because I know obviously Xhaka left and he was such a big player for us at that moment in time. So do you see these signings being the right fit for Arsenal?
Oh, 100%. I think that obviously watching the Community Shield, you saw straight away the influence that Timber
Mm.
probably had. And he was the one that was most quiet. Rice for me, when we got him, everyone was like, okay, well, he's £105 million. So if he doesn't come in and he's at a level
Yeah,
that's of someone that's £105 million, you're going to panic. But you knew, I watched Declan Rice an awful lot last season because the links were so strong. So I was like, "Do you know what? I'm going to watch as much of him as I can and try and see." And I could always tell there was a player there, but I actually think, and he's even admitted it himself, since he's come into Arsenal when he's had Arteta as his manager also, I think the level of player that he was has gone up. He's adding way more goals and assists to his. That's the thing. You've basically got two players in one there, because as much as he's good at six, he's also very, very good playing in that left eight role. Havertz, for me, always when you sign someone from Chelsea, it's a bit like when we got Jorginho as well. There's always a worry or a panic there because we've just been burnt so many times by Chelsea. Always get good players from us that do well for them, but whenever we sign from them, it doesn't work out. But for me, when we got him, I always said that as a backup nine option, he's better, but I do not see him playing as well in the midfield. And I think lately now, especially with the run of 4 goals in his last four, he's really come to fruition quite later on compared to how he started. And then yeah, with Timber just really, really unlucky, because I think if Timber didn't get injured, we'd be talking about him just as much as we talk about
yeah,
Rice and Havertz and Raya. And Raya for me as well, I was really happy for him after the penalty shootout the other night, because for me there's been a lot of stuff by certain sections of the fan base towards him, which I think is unfair, because it's a decision that Arteta made. We all love Ramsdale, but at the end of the day, David Raya is a better goalkeeper than him,
yeah,
and that decision's been made, was out of his hands. And I'm just glad now that fans are not necessarily waking up to the fact that he's a better goalkeeper than him, but embracing him a lot more, because there's
yeah,
always been, oh no, no, come on, it's Aaron Ramsdale. We love and there's personality to Aaron Ramsdale that you don't get with Raya. And I think now you're starting to see a bit more of a person. It's not as outgoing or as fun, but there is a personality in there with Ray. I think he did a very good interview with Henri and Carragher and Richards and everything, and Abdo on CBS the other night after the game, when Henri asked him league or the Champions League, and straight away just went both.
I
I,
love that when I saw
yeah, exactly,
that.
exactly. So yeah, no, I really think as well he's embraced being at Arsenal now.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with what you're saying about Raya, because with Ramsdale, like when he was playing the other day, when we scored, you could see him celebrating with the fans again, and that's something obviously Raya doesn't do with the away fans. Like he doesn't give it back to them. Like they've got a different type of personality, and obviously we love that about Ramsdale. But I think, I think we have come to a point now where we've accepted, Rai is a number one, and I think he does deserve to be a number one. Obviously, I really do love Ramsdale, and always will. And I think I do see him going somewhere in the summer. And obviously, if he does deserve to be number one too. I know for England as well, he does deserve to be there. So I think, I'm really impressed with Raya. I think the Champions League game was massive for him, and though he was really our hero in that game, and we needed him to be our hero because I know in penalties, a lot of the time we've not really seen him made many saves when other teams get penalties. So I just feel like a lot of, the fans really got behind him in that moment. And yeah, it was really lovely to see. And I think as well, when you mentioned about Chelsea signings, they're always hard to know if they'll work out. I think for me, we are seeing when we are buying from Chelsea more recent that they are being more successful. Now with Havertz, it did take him a bit of time to kind of get into things and for us to really, believe that he has been worth the money we've paid for him. But I definitely think Jorginho is a fantastic player, and yeah, I feel really positive about it all at the moment. But I did want to kind of touch on Ben White because at the moment, it just feels like the right time for him to sign a new deal. We're in the quarterfinals of the Champions League. Things are just going really well. How pleased were you when you saw the news that he was extending his deal?
Oh, I was, yeah, very, very happy. I really, really loved the guy. I mean, there was a period just before the break, a bit like all of them before we went to Dubai. You could see that there wasn't something working there,
Mm,
and for me, it looked like he had been carrying some kind of injury because he wasn't as mobile. He wasn't going past Saka like we've normally seen. And since we've come back, I think he's arguably been one of our best players. I think you just look at him and most games you're getting a 7 or an 8 out of 10 about, if you don't need to speak about him, you know that he's having a good game. He just goes about his work, does his job, does what he can. And what I like as well about him is for every single one of his teammates, he's up for it. If you do something to one of our players, he's one of the first ones that's in there, you know, and he'll back his boy, even if he probably 9 times out of 10, some of these players will probably chin him and he'll go down, but he doesn't care. He will fight for his team, which I think is so valuable to have characters like that within the squad. And I know he's got a lot of flack this week. I just ignored all of it. It's silly. We all know deep down something did go on in that camp. I mean, the Athletic did an article the next day basically
yeah.
confirming it, and a lot of people are saying, "Oh, how dare you turn your country down and everything." There's more to it than just wanting to play for it. He just doesn't like being
Mm.
under that regime and in that setting, and I don't blame him. For me, anyway, as much as I love the World Cup and I love the Euros, if you said to me, Sophie, I can see Arsenal win a Champions League this year or England win the Euros or the next World Cup, I'm picking Arsenal over England all the time.
Yeah, always. Me too. Yeah.
Sorry, I don't care enough about England.
Yeah, it's weird because like if someone said to me, would you rather, win a Champions League or the league or the World Cup, like it's really weird because without the Lionesses, I'd jump at that chance, but with the England men's team, I'm just like, I just don't have this kind of connection with them. Obviously,
I know.
and Declan Rice, Jude Bellingham, I really like as well. When you
Oh,
see like
gotcha.
Saka, when you see them do well, like I do enjoy watching them, but I definitely do feel like the club always does come first for me. And I think with Ben White as well, I think he has every right to because I know when he did play at the Euros, I'm pretty sure he did. There was a moment where he was playing, and obviously he wanted to be there. But I do think with Gareth Southgate, I reckon there is something going on there that we probably don't know about, and only people can speculate at this moment in time. But yeah, I kind of think for me, obviously, it helps us in a way because he doesn't get injured if he's not playing as well. Because I think he's massively underrated. I think as Arsenal fans, we appreciate him, but I think if you ask like a Liverpool fan or someone outside of Arsenal, they probably wouldn't give him that credit that we do. Don't you agree? Because he's just so good.
Yeah, I mean, the last couple of weeks, when you just scroll through TikTok when you're bored, there's been a lot from some of the,
Yeah.
big football channels out there that are starting to give him his props. I mean, I've never normally seen, I think it's the guys from I can't even remember what their show's called now, but it's Rory and Adam McCullough and
I know
Boovy,
who, yeah, I know
and
what you mean.
and they've started to big Ben White. Well, not Adam. Adam doesn't big up anything Arsenal, but
Yeah, I
the
know.
other the other two are starting to say. I think they were talking about their teams of the season, and both of them said that they think Ben White's been the best right back in the league. So for me, I thought that's massive to see that them two are starting
Yeah,
to recognise him and everything else like that. And yeah, I again, he just goes about his business and
yeah.
he does it really, really well. So yeah, I'm glad and I'm really happy he signed the contract because he's going to be an important player for us. So yeah, I'm happy to have him in there.
Yeah, it's obviously really positive for Arsenal with that, and it's good to see that as well. That they want players like Saliba and Gabriel, etc. They just want to be here, and it's obviously really refreshing to see that. So I definitely think we're in a really good place. And I did want to touch on the Champions League because obviously we got to quarterfinals. That game was pretty chaotic, and it was really stressful, but obviously we got through. I want to get your initial thoughts when you heard that we got Bayern Munich. Obviously, for me, I was relieved we hadn't got Man City because I don't really want to play them twice. It's just nice to play a different team, and I think it would be harder for us to get through. But what were your initial thoughts when you heard we got Bayern Munich?
Oh, I loved it. I loved it. I was really. I mean, I'm really excited for every. I hate that there's a break at the moment, Sophie. I
I
know
know,
people are like, no, we want a break. It's good, but I just want as much Arsenal as I can at the moment because I'm just enjoying so much of what I'm seeing. Um, And Bayern Munich, yeah, for me, it's always any team that you would have got then would have been at this stage. It's going to be a tough game regardless. But for me, I was like, bring it. Other than like you said, other than Man City, because I was like, oh, 2 games against Man City, they're going to be very, very high intense games,
yeah,
and that also helps Liverpool in the run in for the league, which I don't want them to win. I want Arsenal to win it, obviously. Um, so I was just like, bring on whoever because if we're going to win anything this season, you've got to beat these big teams. And Bayern Munich, they've still okay. They're not the Bayern Munich we know. They're struggling slightly, but they've still got a European pedigree that sadly Arsenal do not have. So I don't think we'll take it lightly. But yeah, I'm very very happy to have that draw. Harry, you can't not be happy if you potentially knocking Harry Kane out of the Champions League. Come on, it'd
it's a
be
lovely
amazing.
team, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, I know that when we were in the Champions League a long time ago, we honestly didn't. We didn't do great. I think we weren't able to compete with those teams, and they were obviously really good as well. We have to give them that credit. But now it just feels like the right time for us to be back in the Champions League. Like I wouldn't ever want us to be in the Champions League if we weren't ready because we just know we're not at that level. But it just feels like at the moment we are able to compete, and I know, obviously it does take it to our advantage that the Bayern Munich fans can't come to the Emirates, and I think that's really good for us because I know when we're at home, to see that support there is obviously really important for the team. But I'm pretty sure that the first leg is at home, and I know a lot of fans are thinking, I wish we were away first, and then we could come home. Like, do you think that's a disadvantage for us that we're at home first?
Not necessarily with the point of view of that they're not going to have any of their fans there, and
Yeah,
I think we've got the full allocation. So if you have 60,000 Arsenal fans in there that are going to be so excited because this is the first time in a very very long time that we've got to the quarterfinals of the Champions League, it's going to be loud. And I don't necessarily think that it makes that much of a difference really. There's no away goals anymore. So take that out of consideration. Yeah, no. Would I have preferred to be away second? Of course, but
yeah,
no. I think now when you get to these stages in this competition and in the league, you know what you need to do. I mean, last season they got so close; they got within 5 points of winning the league, and we've made additions to it that hopefully get us even nearer to it this season. But when you miss out on something so big, you're that much more motivated to not let that
yeah,
happen again. And I think that is what's going to hopefully kick this team on. I mean, Odegaard, I've always loved Sophie since we've signed him. Like, when he was on loan, I
yeah.
thought this is an unbelievable player, and to get him for the price that we did, I still think I think we've robbed Real Madrid there. I don't really care about robbing Real Madrid, but
Yeah,
still,
we
I
definitely
can't
have.
I can't believe we got him for the price that we got him for. And the other night, there's been a lot of people. that have said, I've never seen Odegaard try and drag a game on his own for Arsenal. You know, everyone keeps talking about how great of a captain he is, but I've never seen him try and grab a game by the scruff of his neck. And he single-handedly was trying to win us that game on his own the other night. He was just
Yeah,
non-stop.
it was impressive.
I
Yeah.
know he can. I know the guy's got an engine and he runs and runs and runs, but he just did not stop the other night. It was unbelievable, and I was so happy for him. You know, he was the first one to take the penalty, picked the ball up, scored it, went straight to the fans celebrating. That's what I love. That's what I want, and yeah, hopefully we can kick on and he'll be lifting 2 trophies at the end of the season.
Yeah, I really agree with Odegaard. Like, obviously, since he's been here, he's done incredible performances, and he's obviously really scored. But I think that was one of his performances where I just felt wowed by him. I do feel like it's one of his best performances at Arsenal. I know he didn't score, but like you said, like in that game, he literally got us that win. And I know the goal we scored, that assist as well, was just so amazing to watch. And it was a really tough game for me because they obviously have researched us really well. They know how we work, and it was so tough to beat them. But I think Odegaard really showed his quality, and as a captain, that's what you've got to do in those games. You've got to get us through in that moment. And yeah, I just thought it was like a true captain's performance, and it's really good to see a lot of people give him that love and credit now, because I know some people haven't been happy with the lack of goals he's probably scored, but I think he's just really done an incredible performance. And I know in the Champions League, like before the season started, I did say I would expect us to get to the quarterfinals, the semi-finals. I didn't expect us to win it, and obviously I'm ambitious that we can win it, and I'm hopeful we can. But I do feel like we're really gelling at the moment with this team we have. And all the players are growing in confidence. For you with the Champions League, it's hard to say at the moment, because if we get City in the semi-final, then it'll make things a bit difficult, or Madrid, But do you feel optimistic that we could go all the way in the Champions League?
Yeah, yeah, I really do. There's just something different with this team than there was last season, and I think again that's obviously the addition of Declan Rice. That, like I said, is the two players in one. In that, at the moment for me, Jorginho's doing so well in that six, but he started to tire in that second leg, especially in that extra time. And obviously, he come off, and we put Rice in that position. And I think we got so many big injuries last season at the worst time, but now we've got players coming back. And okay, I know there's a lot of question marks about
Mm,
some of these players coming back, but we've got to, as best we can, hopefully back them, and they're motivated to come and do what they need to do. I mean, Jesus, when he come on the other night, nearly scored. If it wasn't, for the fact the keeper saved, with his leg pretty much, it was one of those where I think he even thought, "Oh God, that's going in," but it just luckily bounced off the back of his legs. So we could have won that in normal time, let alone. And then for me, I think if obviously Jesus scored that goal, the momentum that he would have now, knowing that he scored the winner, it would have
yeah,
been massive, massive for him. So yeah, it's just it. We've got to utilise the squad more. Obviously, for a long time this season, we've had a game, one game a week. Now after this break, it's potentially going to be about three games every 6 or so days. So the players need to know that and respond to that. But
yeah,
also for me, the only slight little knock that I've got on Arteta as a manager still is how he handles this squad, Sophie, because he trusts about 13 to 14 players, whereas Liverpool's and City's, they trust about 21, 22 players. And okay, they've got benches that are a lot more money than the benches that Arsenal have, but we're starting to go that way. We've got to see more from a Vieira. We've got to see more
yeah,
from a Smith Rowe. And Ketia, as much as I don't think he's going to develop on the player that he already is now, same with Nelson, they're going to need their moments. Zinchenko's going to need to come back and do something. Partey's going to need to come back and do something. So that's the big thing for me that we need to kick on and do. But yeah, I do feel that there is something brewing with this team. And I think this season, at the start of the season, before a ball was kicked, I had to do my predictions, and I said that we will win the league and we'll get at least the semi-finals of the Champions League. So
yeah.
I think we're probably going to win. If we're not going to win both, I think we're going to win. We're going to win at least one.
Yeah, I feel like With the Champions League, I think obviously at Wembley in the final, I think as well we always do well Wembley. So I feel optimistic this season. I just believe we could do it, could go all the way, or even get to the final. I think the league is obviously it is really hard. I think the league for me, I probably would think it's harder to win because it's obviously a really long process. Because I know we've got Man City coming up, and I think if we win that, then put us in a great position. But then it would be an Arsenal thing to like go and lose to a lower league team when we. I know we probably have like Brighton or something, and we'll just lose to them. So it is really tough in the league, and I did want to ask you a bit about that. Obviously, at the moment, we're on a break. Unfortunately, I wish the team was still playing. I do miss them. But yeah, we're top of the league. I know we're only on goal difference, but we're in a really good place at the moment. I know we've got a lot of tough games coming up. I know we've got the North London derby. We've got Chelsea possibly. I think that's being postponed, and um, Man City is obviously the big one. But at the moment, do you think we could win it? Like, how are you feeling about it overall?
Yeah, I think if we go to the Etihad and win, I think as a group that mentally could push us over the edge. I wouldn't be upset even if we got a draw,
Yeah.
but I do think winning would then turn other people into thinking, no, I would probably say Arsenal were the favourites from here.
Mm,
So, I mean, the other teams are in what, three competitions still. We'd only be in the two. So hopefully we could use that to our advantage because they'll have more extra games. Obviously, it might tire them out, but like I said, they've got squads and benches that outweigh ours. But still, yeah, I think momentum is a really, really big thing, especially for this squad and for us as fans. I mean,
yeah.
if I never thought for a very, very long time I'd be sitting here talking about how I consider Arsenal to be a contender for the Champions League. So for that just to swing in such a
Yeah.
short space of time is incredible. But yeah, I think as well, a lot of what we're doing is on feeling from the fans. I think they do get that extra lift, and I saw a few tweets the other day from people saying that the atmosphere was dead for that Porto game. Well, when I was watching on the television, it sounded so loud. I mean, I haven't even got a sound bar. I just watch on my normal TV, but it was loud. It
Yeah.
sounded loud to me. So yeah, I think we're in a good place, Sophie. I really do. I'm one of those people. I'm brutally honest, regardless if it upsets other people or not. I'm one of them. I say it as I see it, and if I thought that there was problems in there, I wouldn't be afraid of saying it. So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I think obviously I think it's going to be hard for us to get a win possibly. I mean, I did watch the Man City Liverpool game where they drew, and I do think this team could beat Man City. I just believe we can. I think we're good enough to. And I think, before Dubai we did have a moment where, you know, we probably didn't think we could win it. We didn't think we were in the race, and looking back, I'm really glad we had our moment then, and we've managed to get over it because it's always the end of the season where it's too late to change it. So I'm really glad that we've been able to do that. And like you said, we're seeing players come back from injury. I know Partey's come back. I think with Vieira, I would say Vieira, Smith Rowe, or Reece Nelson. I think, like you mentioned before, obviously it would be good to see a bit more from them. I know with Smith Rowe, it's a weird one really because he probably doesn't get as much time as the others. And I think with Reece Nelson, I do think that I think with Saka, I wouldn't say he would compete with him. I just think we'd bring him on if there was no other options. And I know you mentioned with Eddie, it's a weird one because I think Arteta kind of has maybe realised that he's not able to do what he needs to do. Do you think possibly now, because we're not seeing much of him, he's probably going to leave in the summer?
oh yeah, 100%. I think that the the five English players that we've been talking about all potentially could leave in the summer. I think Nketiah, Nelson, Ramsdale, Smith Rowe, they could all be out,
Yeah.
which is a real shame for me, especially as far as Smith Rowe's concerned, because
Mhm.
I still believe. Sadly, the fitness thing and the injuries is a massive, massive problem. But I still believe that that guy is a humongous player.
Mhm.
He could be someone like I said earlier about Odegaard turning a game on the scruff of the neck. He to me can be that player, but
Yeah.
you just can't. The thing with Arteta, it's a bit like what Arsene Wenger was like back in the day. His greatest strength is also his greatest weakness, and that's his
Mhm.
trust. and I don't think he can trust. I don't think he trusts Smith Rowe enough to stay fit. I mean, the big glaring one for me that we've missed the last couple of days and games is Martinelli. And I
Yeah,
think if Martinelli, he's not been picked for Brazil, thank God. Neither is Jesus, by the way, which is great.
yeah, good.
And going into that game at the Etihad, if you've got a back fit Martinelli, he's going to make such a difference, even against Bayern Munich as well. Martinelli's going to make such a huge difference just because of his pace and what he does running in behind. As much as I love Trossard, I think Martinelli's just a completely different player. And I love Martinelli so much. So I'm really going to be happy when he's back, especially against these big teams in these big games.
Yeah, I think Martinelli, we've really missed him, and in that Porto game, I think that we needed someone like him, and I hope he's in. I know he's obviously not been playing for a few games, but I think he is showing you how important he is for the team. So I do hope he will be back soon. But I think it's obviously good at the moment that I feel like this season we do have more of a squad depth than we do last season. And then you mentioned, Man City or Liverpool, we don't exactly have their type of squad depth, but I think it's obviously really good as well when Martinelli's fit. When Trossard comes on, I think he can make a massive impact. So it's good that we've got those, strengths to add on. And I did want to speak about this because how much of a bonus is it that Edison won't be playing against us? I hope he isn't back when we play him, but I don't really know if he is. But obviously, Man City are still doing well. I think it's still going to be a tough game, even if he isn't.
Well, that sub keeper for them is it? Is it Ortega? I think his name is it.
I don't even know.
Uh, I feel bad because I should really know who it is, but he would probably start for any other team in the league apart from us and Liverpool
Yeah.
because he's like one of the best goalies, even though he's a second choice goalie. So I
Yeah, I
wouldn't.
think he's good from what I've seen from him.
Yeah, it does. I mean, he played very well against us in the Community Shield, so I don't think it makes that much of a difference
Yeah.
whether Edison's in there or not. If Rodri wasn't playing, I'd be or De Bruyne or Haaland, then I would agree. Yeah, I think it's a massive bonus. But in terms of the goalkeeper, there's not much. There's not that much in it for me that
Yeah.
makes it a bonus or not. And do you know what? I want to beat City with everybody in because when we beat them at the Emirates, okay, it was a deflected goal and everything there, but all that happened after the game wasn't about how brilliant this is. It's the same with anything Arsenal do. It's never about how good Arsenal are. It's about how bad the other teams were
And
or
now
what
it's so
players were
annoying.
missing. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, I want to be able to beat the best Man City that there is, and then they have no excuse or no get out for what's happening.
It is frustrating. I mean, I don't let it bother me as much now, but you do see like when we say Burnley, if we beat when we beat them, like I think it was like 5-0 or something, it will always be about how, bad they were, not about how good we are. And I think with obviously Man City, I'm pretty sure Rodri was out of that game, I think. And I think obviously it did help us, but even though it was deflected, I do think we did deserve to win because we were really trying our best to make things happen. And I think, yeah, like you said, I think when we play them, if all the players are fit and we're able to beat them, no one can really, go on about Man City and talk about them. It is hard because the spotlight does go off us, and it is, I have seen this in the media. Like I know last season when we were, top for so long, there was big, people didn't like to give us that praise, and then you look at the start of the season when Spurs were doing pretty good for their standards. People were loving, like the media were loving seeing them do well. It is really strange. I think one of the reasons is we obviously haven't been able to get over that line. I think that's one thing, but I do generally feel like I know George Graham once said people hate us. It's just part of our history. Like I think that's just one of the things. And I did want to ask you a bit about Arteta because for me, there has been moments in the past where I have doubted him a little bit. I have been a bit unsure. I know, like you said, some of his things, I don't really get with his team selections or things like that. I do have my small doubts that we haven't been able to get over the line regarding the league, regarding getting top four. I don't think it's all on him. I think the players do take responsibility as well, but how are you feeling about him? Obviously, this season we've got the chance to win two big trophies, and I think if we didn't win anything, I would be a little bit like, oh, like a bit disappointed. But I'm still kind of happy with how we're going.
Yeah, it's very very tough because you'll have a lot of people. that will look at the money that's been spent, and they will probably say, if he can't get us over the line now with all of this backing, when is he ever going to do it?
Yeah.
And then you've got the other side of the coin that are saying, well, we've never been this close for nearly 20 odd years. So how can you? The fact that we're competing is good enough. It's really, really difficult, Sophie. For me, it's the nature of how it turns out. If it's again, if we're unlucky on the day, or things go out of your hands and everything else like that, I can't necessarily say that he shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a really, really tough one. It's a great question, but sadly for me, we got to see how it goes before we can
Mhm.
have that conversation. But
Yeah.
I don't think he's going. Really, I don't think he's going anywhere. So
Yeah, I really like Arteta. I do believe that it would be silly to get rid of him considering the progress you've made under him. And I'm not really a big fan of swapping managers all the time. I like to keep, a manager. I mean, obviously sometimes things don't work and you do have to get rid of managers, but I just feel quite positive about Arteta at the moment, and I think for us, I'm pretty sure we hadn't been past the quarterfinal stage in I think it might have been like 14 years or something, like I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure it's something like that. And obviously, I know it was through penalties, but I just feel like the fact we've come so far, it just shows you how good this team is. And as I was mentioning about Edu and Arteta, obviously the signings we've made, overall, I think have been pretty good. And then we've had a few odd ones that obviously like a Willian who hasn't been great. But I did want to ask you, from like all of the signings they've made so far at Arsenal, who do you think has been the most influential signing?
or over their whole time,
Yeah,
yeah, up Odegaard, definitely. Yeah,
yeah,
100%. I mean, y- you could say Gabriel as well. To be fair, the way he's played this season, I know Saliba is getting a lot of plaudits, but I
yeah.
actually think Gabriel this season's been the better of the two.
Mhm.
I think he's become an even better player than I thought he was. But no, in terms of the whole change for me, yeah, it's Odegaard. I don't think we'd be anywhere near where we are now if it wasn't for him. Because as a personality, as a captain, I think he's fantastic, Sophie. I really do. For me, I went through a stage where there was Arsenal teams where, and I wasn't saying I dislike every single player, but there
Yeah.
were players where I was like, he's not for me. Even like as a personality, not just as a footballer. I was like, you don't
Mm.
get it. Like you don't understand how important it is to be playing for Arsenal, how lucky you
Yeah.
are to be playing for Arsenal, and that guy gets it. And I think his energy and everything else feeds into the rest of the group.
Yeah.
And I've not been lucky enough to go to some of these events and meet
Mm.
him, but I know people that have, and all of them say within the first 5 to 10 seconds of meeting him, he'll blow you away. Odegaard, they're like, he's just a great, great person as well as a footballer. He's just a great man. So
Yeah.
that speaks levels to me.
Yeah, I was speaking to Tom Canton a few weeks ago and he was saying, after games he does kind of speak to the players and he was saying that he just made so much time for them, even though after a game players do get a bit tired and probably want to head home, but he was just saying how lovely and down to earth he was. And I do feel like Odegaard generally connects with the fans, and I know when he was on loan I just felt this connection, and when he left I felt so emotional. I felt like he's someone who's finally got us and then he's leaving, and then when he came back it felt like such an amazing feeling. I always did believe in him. I think when we had a lot of players who we knew really weren't good enough for Arsenal, he did stand out as probably the main player. Like Tierney did. Tierney always stood out as the best player because there wasn't a lot of great players around the team, without sounding harsh. So I just feel like it's really lovely to have a proper captain, and like this person said, much better captain than Aubameyang. I think it just shows we've come such a long way. And obviously I remember when we went through that Aubameyang situation, it was such a horrible time. I remember watching like that documentary, that All or Nothing thing we did, and it's hard because as fans we won't see what Arteta and Aubameyang went through, and we just had to we had to pick a side of who we thought was sort of telling the truth, or it was really difficult. So I feel like at the moment it's really good that we're in a place now where we've not got any problems with the players, like no attitude players. It's obviously really good, and I think for me, I would say Odegaard, but I would also say Gabriel as well, who's been probably the most important of all of the signings. I think when before Saliba came here, I think Gabriel has improved a lot now with Saliba. I think when Gabriel had to play with defenders next to him who probably weren't at his level, I feel like it didn't help him as a player. I'm not saying that he was getting worse, but it didn't help him. I think if you play with a player who isn't at your level, you're not really going to improve. Like I think you look at the back four now, they completely lift each other up. So I think for that reason, I've got to go Gabriel. I think, like you said, I think he possibly could be even better than Saliba, but I just absolutely love that partnership. It's just, for me, I think it's probably one of the best in the league, personally.
It is the best in the league. That's take bias aside, it just stats prove it. So
Yeah,
yeah, they are the best too. And as well as they're good in our box, they're good in the opposition box as well. They're two of the best from I mean, all the corner goals that we've scored, them two are just on height and everything, and just how they react. They're absolute monsters in there. So yeah, I love both of them. But yeah, Gabriel for me this season, like you just saying, I think
it's
he's
been incredible,
yeah,
yeah.
he's been really really good.
Yeah, I think for me, he's grown a lot this season as well. I think a lot of the players have matured as well. And I did want to ask you, it's obviously a bit of a difficult question because you could name a lot of players, but as I mentioned, we have come such a long way. I think the season we've seen that we are much better than last season. If you had to pick a player who has improved the most this season, who would you pick? It's
Or
obviously a hard one. I still
improved.
don't know. I'm just like,
Yeah. Oh wow. Um, that is really difficult. I think for me, I'm gonna say I'm gonna say Ben White. Yeah. Oh no, no, actually, completely take that back. Completely take that back. I'm being an idiot. Sorry, Sophie. Kivior. Kivior. Sorry, I completely went blank there. Yeah, Kivior, 100%.
yeah, I was
100%.
thinking
Because he's
about,
gone from someone that I was unsure of to someone now that I'm not dropping.
yeah.
Yeah, Kivior for me is fantastic. I love watching Kivior. I think he's really settled into that role now, and he's he wants it. He doesn't want to lose that play. I mean, when you've got Tomiyasu, Timber, and even Sinchenko coming back, yet he's still starting. I think that speaks volumes, not just from the manager in how good he's playing, but how good he's playing himself. So yeah, Kivior for me, definitely.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think there was a moment where obviously he's not really used to playing at left back, and he's obviously had to because Zinchenko's been out. And I did think a lot of fans thought he was quite average. I think for me, I always felt like if you're playing in a different position and you don't play regular football, you do need maybe a few games to settle in. And obviously now he's completely developed. It's just really lovely to see that. I look at Zinchenko. I know when you've not played for a while, it is hard to get into things. But when I was watching Zinchenko come on the other day, it just made me realise how much Kivior relaxes me. Like when he plays, I just trust him so much. And I think with Zinchenko, I think he'll always have that part of his football where he is defensively. It's not his best quality. I think he's got other great qualities, but um, yeah, I think Kivior has improved so much. I just think Gabriel this season at the back. I just think he's gone onto a different level. Like you said, with the set pieces, the goals he scored to help us as well was doing really good defensively. I think for me, definitely has been worth every penny. £20, 20 million, £20, 20 million well spent. Yeah, I definitely agree. I think it's obviously just a really good time to be an Arsenal fan, and I have really enjoyed chatting with you today, James. Before we do round the stream up, do you want to just tell people a bit about maybe what you do? I know you obviously go on people's channels and where they can find you if they want to give you a follow.
Yeah, so it's just on Twitter at LLCoolJames91, and it'll all be on there. I've got my own channel. I haven't done a video for a very very long time, so apologies for that. But yeah, I'm on I'm on wherever anyone wants me, and I've got the time. I will be there because I'm just happy to talk about football or Arsenal with anybody. So, and I appreciate your time, Sophie. I appreciate everything you're doing. You know, you're doing very, very well for yourself, getting yourself out there and everything else. So, yeah, congratulations to you, and just keep going, keep doing what you're doing.
Oh, thank you so much. I do
Oh,
appreciate
you're
that.
welcome.
And I've had such a wonderful time chatting to you today. It's been so fun. It's gone really fast, and we'll definitely have to do this again. But to those that are watching, I hope you did enjoy this. If you can, do hit the subscribe button. If you're new, do smash the like button too. And I'll see you all in my next video. Bye.